again, is because they're too involved with themselves. They don't know how to be at peace with themselves or feel that freedom. And they get worried about guilt and fear and anxiety and loss and grief. These are all internal things. They don't know how to deal with themselves. One way to overcome depression is actually to go and do some work for somebody else. To fight depression with compassion. Because when you develop compassion, you're sending that obsession with you're ending the obsession with yourself, and you're giving out to somebody else. I have found, just as a general rule of thumb, that those people who serve, who are compassionate in the world, tend not to be depressives. You go out to other people. When you give to other people, you get so much back in return. What you get back in return is energy, is happiness, and that completely stops depression. Become free of those things. It seems to be the more you serve, the more you give, the freer you feel. Not if you have all the time by yourself, but if you give to others. And as you take freedom even further, you start to, when the times when you aren't serving others, when you're by yourself, when you're with yourself, that's when you have to face some of these guilt, anger, fears, whatever else is in the mind. And when we're by ourselves, sometimes we feel no freedom at all, because these qualities of the mind, again, concern us so much, they become such a huge problem. We never feel free from them, because we don't know how to deal with them. We try again to get rid of our anger. We try to overcome our fear. We try and do something about these problems. And the more we try and control and do, the worse it becomes. One of the great ways of overcoming fear, anger, restlessness, is just to leave it alone. To be content, to be afraid, to be content, to be restless, to be content, to be bored. If you can actually do that, you are actually undermining the very cause of those negative qualities. When you have contentment there, the whole edifice of restlessness, fear, completely disappears. That's why sometimes some teachers will say, well, what's wrong with being afraid? What's wrong with it? Well, just be afraid. Enjoy it. Have fun. What's wrong with being, say, depressed? When we think it's wrong, we get depressed about being depressed. And then we get depressed about being depressed about being depressed, and depressed about being depressed about being depressed about being depressed. And I'm just so depressed about being depressed about being depressed about being depressed. We just dig ourselves into this huge hole of negativity. So instead of doing that, I'm going to enjoy being depressed. Now, of course, as soon as you start to be content enjoying being depressed, depression is gone. The same as the way I overcame boredom. Because being in a monastery, there's nothing, actually something did go on last Thursday. It's just I'm going on a complete tangent. Because last Thursday afternoon we had the tactical response group and police helicopters swarming all over our monastery. I'm not sure if you saw the news last night or the paper this morning. There was the most wanted criminal in Western Australia. It wasn't me, but it was someone who was actually hiding out in the land next to our monastery. Just a few hundred meters from our boundary. And the policeman came to see me on Wednesday, one of the detectives, and actually let me know what was going to happen. And actually were asking me questions. So actually for the last, from Thursday...
ចឹងបានរោងប៉ុនខ្ញុំឃើញទេគេតែងខ្មៅគេតែងសរោងប៉ុនមានសង្កេតពិនិត្យមើលដែរហេតុអីបានប៉ុនខ្មោចគេដាក់ កណាត់ខ្មៅនិងកណាត់សអ្នកខ្លះអត់ដឹងទេដឹងថាឲ្យតែបនសពគេត្រូវធ្វើតែអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំចង់ដាក់ពណ៌ត្រួយជ័យក៏បានដែរចង់ដាក់ពណ៌ក្រហមក៏បានដែរចង់ដាក់ពណ៌ឆើតឆាយបែបណាក៏បានដែរបនសពប៉ុន្តែទំនៀមរបស់ខ្មែរយើងដែលតែងកណាត់ពណ៌សតែងកណាត់ពណ៌ខ្មៅនេះមានន័យសម្រាប់ពិចារណាបើតាមកំណត់របស់អាត្មាជាការបង្ហាញថានៅពេលណាដែលមនុស្សកំពុងតែរស់នៅហើយចុតិត្រូវស្លាប់ពីលោកនេះទៅមានតែរឿងពីរយ៉ាងឯងដែលជាប់តាមខ្លួនទៅជាប់តាមចិត្តនឹងទៅទី1កុសលធម៌កុសលធម៌តំណាងឲ្យពណ៌សអកុសលធម៌តំណាងឲ្យពណ៌ខ្មៅអញ្ចឹងជីវិតរបស់យើងនេះពេលដែលស្លាប់ទៅយើងមិនដឹងថាយើងវាមានកតិបែបណាទេជួនក៏នៅពេលណាដែលទៀបនឹងស្លាប់អាកម្មអារម្មណ៍ហ្នឹងនោះយើងពេលដែលស្លាប់វាមាននៅអានិមិត្ត3យ៉ាងវាមានកម្មនិមិត្តកតិនិមិត្តអីជាដើមអញ្ចឹងទៅមុននឹងស្លាប់អាត្រចៀកនេះត្រូវលេងលឺភ្នែកក៏លេងមើលឃើញច្រមុះក៏លេងដឹងក្លិនដាតក៏លេងដឹងរសសារពាង្គកាយទាំងមូលលេងដឹងនៅអារម្មណ៍ហើយវានៅតែមโนទ្វារមួយទេអញ្ចឹងក្នុងគណៈពេលនោះវាត្រូវទទួលនៅកម្មទាំងឡាយដែលយើងធ្លាប់បានសាងពីអតីតវាត្រូវសារកសែតឲ្យយើងឃើញដូចប្រចាំងកុនអញ្ចឹងបើញោមមន់ធ្លាប់ធ្វើកឋិនចិត្តនឹងផ្ដួចទៅលើកុសលខ្លាំងឃើញត្រៃចីវោឃើញខ្លួនឯងកំពុងធ្វើកឋិនឲ្យទានរក្សាសិលបំពេញបុណ្យកុសលផ្សេងអានឹងឲ្យឃើញយើងទៅមកខ្ញុំទៀតនឹងស្លាប់ឃើញទៅមកដល់បកគោខ្លះទៀតអត់បានបំពេញនៅសេចក្តីល្អទៀតនឹងស្លាប់អាទូកម្មអារម្មណ៍វិនិមិត្តឲ្យឃើញរឿងរ៉ាវមិនល្អធ្លាប់សម្លាប់សត្វធ្លាប់វីដំច្រំធាក់ធ្លាប់លួចគេហ្នឹងអាគណៈពេលហ្នឹងយើងឃើញតែម្នាក់ឯងគត់កូនប្រពន្ធញាតិមិត្តនៅជុំវិញខ្លួនយើងថាមិនបានឃើញរឿងអស់ហ្នឹងទេតែមានតែយើងទេជាអ្នកបានសាងកម្មនេះអាទូសភាពនៃចិត្តហ្នឹងវាវិលកសែតវិលរឿងចាស់ឲ្យយើងបានឃើញនៅពេលណាដែលគណៈពេលដែលទៀបនឹងស្លាប់អាទូឬកម្មអារម្មណ៍ហ្នឹងអាទូកម្មអារម្មណ៍ដែលវាបានឲ្យយើងឃើញបើសិនជាកុសលឃើញរឿងល្អចុតិព្រឹបភ្លាមរមែងទៅកាន់សុគតិ